When I started to get into PC gaming, the market for mice felt quite barren and would quickly get expensive if you wanted a good one. This has changed quite a bit with greater budget options, one such being this, the EWEADN S9 Max, which is marketed as a budget competitor to the Razer Viper V3 Pro. The S9 comes in 5 colors and 4 models, which range from $39.90 to $59.90. This is a stark contrast to the V3 Pro, which ranges as of writing between $155 to $180. Now, I do want to mention that EWEADN did send me this mouse free of charge to review, but I won't give them a favorable treatment just because of that. With that out of the way, let's get to what comes in the box. First, you obviously get the mouse itself. Then, you get the receiver, which is either a 1 kHz for the base model or an 8 kHz one for the Pro, Max and Ultra. Then you get a nice long USB-A to C cable. This one uses blue plastic, which signifies USB 3.0, but it is missing the additional row of pins, which makes it only a USB 2.0 cable. I hope EWEADN corrects this. That aside, you get the manual and surprisingly a second set of glides and grip tape. This might not be included in the future according to the website though, so be aware of that. When it comes to the initial impression, I want to start with a bit of a comparison directly. Out of the box, the S9 is quite light with 62 grams, but almost 10 grams heavier compared to the V3 Pro's 59 grams. Then we have the grip, which is identical between the two, since EWEADN seems to have made liberal use of the V3's shape, which is identical from the good to the bad. So in that regard it feels great, but has one minor problem when it comes to the grip style I use. This lip here in the back sometimes catches the flesh of my palm on backwards motions. But that aside, there's the feel of the mouse as well. While the V3 Pro has a silky matte texture, the S9 Max in this green color has a glossy texture. I find that the grime is far more noticeable on this glossy surface, but this is not necessarily a bad thing, as I prefer this over long-term build-up before it becomes apparent. Next is the scroll wheel, which overall feels less harsh on the S9, as it uses a softer texture on the rubber and has softer steps. And now I get to my favorite and least favorite points. First, the glides. They are amazing and buttery smooth, to the point where I wish EWEADN would just sell them for different mice altogether. I can't compare it to the V3 Pro though, as I bought mine used and it has third-party glides installed. What I can compare though is my least favorite part, which is the same on both of them. The DPI switch is on the bottom. I once in a while like to quickly go between low and high DPI in games, and this makes it much more difficult than it needs to be. I mean look, every other mouse has a small button on top. It can't be that hard to fit it into the design, right? When it comes to the specs, they differ a bit based on the model, so I'm putting up the full chart. As for the S9 Max though, you get a PAR 3395 sensor, a PAR 2862 MCU, a max DPI of 26,000, a polling rate of up to 8,000 Hz, both wired and wireless, Kyle 100M wide sword switches for the top and Huano for the side, connection via USB-C, 2.5 GHz and Bluetooth, a 500 mAh battery that supposedly lasts 120 hours. This will differ based on the polling rate though, a metallic anti-slip surface coating and PTFE skates. This seems not too bad. The switches themselves are nice, but are a bit on the sharper side, which I will get to in the sound test. EWEADN provides their software as a web application. This is nice in a way, since it makes it cross-platform, portable, and allows configuration even on systems where you aren't allowed to install software. This can however also be a problem in cases you have no internet or the website itself has problems. I would love for them to open source it or provide at least a self-hostable package. The software itself is quite basic, but does the job well. It is a bit confusing though, since it seems to give you the option to remap buttons and add macros. This does not work however, and I guess it's there for the other products that they have. This should be simple to hide, but it's otherwise not a big deal. As for actually testing the mouse, I did a few different tests. First up was the aim trainer. When it comes to the aim trainer, I performed similar with the S9 and the V3 Pro and beat my current mouse, the G3 of 5. To prevent some bias, I did around 5 rounds each and then rotated to the next one. This way I wouldn't use the G5 first and get the lowest score, and then use the S9 last and get the highest score. I tested the polling rate with an online tester. If you know a better method, then please let me know in the comments. I believe the Viper to be accurate, so I tested that one first. With it I got a max of 5039 Hz, a bit off from the 8K, but it provides an example to base my results on. The S9 Max came out slightly higher with 5240 Hz. I just think that the 8K claim is true and I won't doubt it. When it comes to actual gaming, I usually don't play modern esports titles. Rather I either play single player games or something like Quake. There I can say though that I didn't notice any downsides. My aim was smooth and I didn't feel like the mouse was a hindering factor, but I did notice the lack of a DPI button on top. As for the sound test, the S9 has a sharper and less hollow sounding click than the Viper. The mouse wheel itself is more subtle and less aggressive. However, this leads to the S9 being overall louder than the Viper. And in one of my videos I showed that I mod my mice to be as quiet as possible. So I have to give the point to the Viper here. In conclusion, I do like the EWEADN S9 Max and will continue to use it as my main mouse from now on. It's also impressive how well it can hold itself against a much more expensive Viper V3 Pro. But I do wish EWEADN would try to create their own identity, or at least see some of the flaws and improve upon them rather than just copying them as is. However, I do know that weight is a big factor for some people, and the V3 Pro clearly wins in that regard. And with that being said, I left links to all the mice in the description if you want to check them out. And if you want more reviews, then don't forget to subscribe.